All right, everybody, it's 4 o'clock. I know we started this a little late today. Thanks for jumping in. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just a reminder that this is being recorded. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Claire will be able to see those and get you answered while you're on here today. We do have a few champions for this series. We're doing Punchlist today. This will be our last Procore training for a little bit. We'll do a recap and we'll give it a rest for a while. You guys can get back to your regular training. Claire Weber is going to teach today. She's the same person who taught you guys last week, and she's been with us for quite a while. Kate Cunningham, our customer success manager, is also on the line with us today. We do have a few champions for this tool. We have a couple of jobs that have already used Punchlist, so they know the ins and outs and lessons learned. Corey Wortman, Kyle Livingood, Garrett Kozad, Taryn Bonoff. So I'll make sure that those gentlemen are all listed in your SOPs that'll be posted tomorrow. So without any further ado, I'll let Claire go ahead and take over and get going.
Thanks, Julie, again. And hey, everybody, thank you for being here and for your time. Like was mentioned, please do, if you have any questions over the course of today's training, put those in the Q&A box. Let me know. Would love to go over any specific questions with you all. I don't anticipate this taking more than, say, half an hour for me to get through everything. So we have plenty of time for questions. Definitely ask them. Now, what you should be seeing on the screen, again, is my iPad. So I'm going to teach you all primarily from the mobile app today. It's my understanding that's what you'll be using mostly to create your items. So we'll start in the mobile app. Just a heads up, I will jump into the web app briefly at the end to show you all an example of an email. So just know we will go into the web, and if you have any settings questions or anything there, we'll have time for that at the end. But let's go ahead and jump in and get to this. So I have set up, some of your champions were kind enough to provide me some notes about your process and what's particularly important for you all to know and to do when you're creating these items. So that's what we're going to cover today, is your process. So first thing that I want to point out to everyone, you do have a punch list tool, of course, in your app, and clicking on that tool is going to take you to your list view, just like you'd see in the web. Do notice this is a little different. At the top there, under your search bar, you have ball and court items and all items. So sometimes folks will get confused when they come in and they're only seeing their ball and court items. That's where the tool, I think, will default for you. And so if you're looking to see just your entire list as a super or PM, just get a feel for what's going on, use all items. The ball and court item section is, of course, really helpful for assignees or those of you that are going to be a punch manager or a final approver, which we'll talk about. Super helpful to come in here and just see exactly what's on your list and what you need to go through. You can also create new items straight from the tool, of course. That's going to be your plus button in the top right-hand corner. However, I'm going to show you a different way to create these items today. This is going to be probably the fastest way for you to do it, is from a drawing. Okay, so know that you can create them here in special circumstances, but for the most part, you guys are probably just going to use the punch tool itself to review items and then send them out. And I think this is going to be, sending out from the tool is potentially going to be something new for you all. All right, let's go back to the toolbox. And the next place I'm going to go is to drawings. And I have got actually a separate drawing area set up for punch items. This is just a note for admins, certainly not a requirement, but it can be helpful to pick out a group of sheets in either a separate set or a separate area like I've got, a separate group of sheets where you'll keep all of your punch items. And the reason we recommend that is because eventually you're going to have lots of punch items, potentially lots of pins going up on sheets. And so if you are just doing that willy-nilly and have sheets everywhere, could become a little bit more difficult to find pins when you are going and wanting to review them on the plan, right? And so if you have a select group of sheets that you're using, just makes it easier to go in and find what you're looking for. So I've got a few examples of items already created on this sheet. So you can see, I'm going to zoom in. You'll notice gray pins and blue pins. So the punch pins are actually going to change color according to the status they're in. So blue pins are new, and gray are either closed out or in draft status. We'll look at that a little bit more in a second here, but know that you'll have color-coded pins, and then when you do get to the point where you've got quite a few pins on one sheet, your filters up at the top there are going to become extremely helpful. And that's because you've got very detailed filters when it comes to punch items. For example, I mentioned I've got 2 on there that are gray because they've been closed out. Well, maybe I don't care about those. Maybe I'm really just concerned with anything that's open. I can turn that filter on, apply it, and then notice my gray pins have gone away. They're filtered out, my view is cleaner. Now I'm just seeing punch items that are open and need my attention. All right, so that's a little bit about what you'll see on the drawing as far as punch pins go and how to filter them based on what you need to be seeing at the moment. Now I'm going to show you how to actually create your items. And the reason we want you to create them from the drawing to begin with is so that you have this pin and the item is linked to the drawing sheet from the second you create it. And what I mean by that is if you create the punch item anywhere else, say directly from the tool, from a location even, the item will get created, but you would then have to manually pin it to a drawing later. No sense in that. That's going to make your process longer. Come to your drawing sheet, create the punch item straight from your sheet. Super easy to do that. On the right-hand side, you have your markup bar. The very bottom pin can be expanded, and you can add photos, punch items, or observations with a pin. You may very well start doing this with observations if you've not yet. So I've selected my punch pin, and maybe I'm going to zoom in, and I'll tap on this bathroom stall here. Come on. There we go. And I'm going to just, so notice in my pop-up here, I'm going to have templates come up here in this window. So these are templates that have been set up for you ahead of time if they do pop up in here. So no, you could have potentially lots of pre-created options. And we for sure recommend when you come in here, if you have templates available, try to use a template as much as possible. I'm also seeing there at the top recent items. So concrete crack, good example. If I walk through and see several of those over the course of a walk, easy for me to choose those and recreate them. So I'm just cloning a recently created item. All right, let's talk about what's important for you all to be filling out and what potentially may be marked required in the tool for you. Trade is going to be the first one that's super important. So your admins definitely want you to fill this out. It will probably be a list that looks sort of like this. So you need to be concerned with trade. You also need to enter location. So let's say the location didn't automate for me. When you click on this, you're gonna see a breakdown that's been entered for you. Okay, so even if you have the ability to add a new location like I do at the top, don't do that. Really try to use one that's been created for you ahead of time. I'm going to use building here as sort of a catch-all. So we've got location, trade, and then the other one that's real important for you to not miss is your type. This is another function where options are going to be built out for you. They may not be these exact three. I've just put in some examples so that you can see what this looks like. Why this is important, you're going to have different types of items, or another way to think about it is if you're used to maintaining multiple different punch lists, one for architect, one for owner, maybe an internal one, the only way you'll be able to keep sort of separate lists, if you will, is by filling out this type. Otherwise, they're all going to blend together and it will be harder to sort your information. And admins, if you've not, with your punch list field sets, made trade and type required fields, I recommend you do that. It'll make it easier for everybody here to remember what they need to fill out, because they won't be able to save the item until they've filled it out. So just a suggestion. Other items that you'll be required to fill out just because of how Procore works are going to be your punch manager and your final approver. Procore won't automatically require an assignee. You're still going to want to add an assignee, so I would consider all three of those: punch manager, final approver, and assignee. Those are all required. Now, I believe your punch manager and your final approver fields are going to fill in for you automatically. Those are things that can be defaulted. So you'll probably see names pop in here automatically like mine did, but know that you can change them like you saw me do here. And the only one that may not auto-populate is your assignee. It's possible to have that happen, but will just depend on settings. Okay, so to recap, I have created a punch pin. I tapped on the drawing where the problem was. In this case, there's a loose toilet in the bathroom. So I have noted that in the title. I've filled out my required information. I've chosen type in particular, and then I've added a detailed description. This was another really important ask from your admin team. Just be sure you're detailed, and I recommend to folks use the microphone talk to text function. I think I mentioned last time I don't demo this anymore because for whatever reason, Zoom doesn't like it and kicks me out of the screen share, but this will save you so much time. If you've got a lot of information that you want to put in there, just hit that microphone, talk to it, add all your notes, and then finally, right-hand corner of the new punch item, I'll save it. And then I have item 6 right there on the drawing. Okay, so that's creating an item. Let's talk about this setting here. So notice top left-hand corner, auto publish punch pins. You, unless there is some crazy circumstance where you wouldn't want these markups to be visible, you should definitely default to having this on. And reason being is if you were to turn it off, you would need to remember to publish each of these punch items individually, else they're not going to show up for anybody but you on the drawing sheet. Okay, so just again to reiterate, leave this auto publish setting on unless you have a very specific circumstance that you need to run by an admin. Okay, and leaving that on ensures that as soon as I create the item, it's visible to everybody as a markup. Okay, here is where there was a specific note of feedback in the notes that I got that I want to help you all with. So my understanding is that right now, what's been happening for the most part is someone will create the item and then see how at the top I can send this to its assignee directly from the drawing. That's one option. And it is something that folks will use occasionally because it's convenient. You're already in the item, so you can click on it and hit send. The feedback, though, from your team was, oh, we wish that, say Sally is my assignee. I hate that if items 5 and 6 are for Sally, she's going to get a separate email for item 5 and then another email for item 6 and so on. I agree with you, not a good experience for your collaborator. We don't want them to be inundated or become numb to the emails. So here's what I'm going to suggest. There is a way for you to send a digest email to Sally, one email with all of her punch items in that one email. And here's how you would do that. In the drawing itself, all you're concerned with is creating your items. I haven't done anything but tap on the drawing and fill out the information. And that's all I'm going to do on the drawing. When I'm done creating the items, I'll hit done so I can leave my drawing. And then I'm going to navigate back to my punch tool itself. And then see that banner at the top of the screen? Basically, when you're creating your punch items in that drawing sheet, the punch tool is storing those non-initiated items in the tool. And that's where that yellow banner comes into play. So if you see that yellow banner, you have assignees who have not been notified yet. That's your indicator already. And then what's awesome is if I hit this review button, it's going to tell me ball in court. That's going to be who this goes to next. So most likely a punch manager, but potentially also an assignee. And all I have to do is hit the button in the right-hand corner, send for. Because these are going to Clarissa Darling, Clarissa gets one email with all 4 of those items in a list, and they'll be hyperlinkable so that Clarissa can click on each item that she wants to see and deal with them accordingly. And I will show you an example of what that email looks like in a moment when we go into the web. That was really the only thing I think I want to show you there. But that would be how you prevent one assignee from getting slammed with an individual email every time. Would be to create all your items on the drawing and then you send them out using the actual tool. All right. That is creating and managing items. I don't see any questions about that, at least to this point. So I'm going to review one other thing from the mobile app for you, and then we can take a look at that email in the web and maybe get you all out of here a little early. Okay, so I mentioned that I had built in some example locations for you. So one other way, aside from, so let's say you want to look at a particular set of items. You can definitely use the filters in the punch tool. And you could even filter them out by location. So maybe I want to see everything that's just been added to the building, whether they were added to one of those sublocations or just the building. I'll be able to capture everything. And then all of these items are associated with that location. So my bad, it didn't really change our list much. Okay, but no, you can filter from the tool. Another way potentially to look up items would be to use your locations tool. Right now, I know Brinkman's not using the QR codes that you scan Don't have to have those to use this module as a way to quickly look up a location and find all the items associated with it. So the black part would normally be a camera. I'm blurring it out right now. One, because I'm working from home, and two, you won't use it. Instead, look at the orange where it says select location. I can click on that, select my building, and then boom. And what I like about this is you're going to get kind of a holistic picture. So I can see punch items associated with this item right here in the list, and hitting the view more button is what actually will take me right into the tool and give me that same filtered view. But I can also see other items, all other items that have been associated with this location. So I bring that up to you because during the punch process, you may, at some point, it could be helpful to get sort of a holistic picture of what's been going on. And pulling up a locations item, since you all are attaching locations to everything, could be a great convenient way to get some information. Oh, let's see, it looks like there's a question in here from Taylor. When you bulk send punch list items to subcontractors, can you send lists to multiple assignees / subcontractors? Ooh, great question. So the answer, yes, Taylor, that's really a great question. So I think what you are getting at is in a punch item, it's possible to have multiple assignees. And I think we talked about this in last time because this is different from observations. Remember I was telling you with an observation, it's one assignee. In this case, oh my goodness, I just chose the same person. Here we go. In this case, I can have multiple assignees here. And so in this case, Taylor, same concept will apply. If, let's see, Dave is on here. If Dave was on another punch item with multiple assignees, he's still going to get one email with all the items he's been assigned to individually. I hope that answers the question and makes sense. Even if you're using multiple assignees, Procore distinguishes them as separate users. And so Brad will get an email including this punch item and anything he's been added to, and same for Dave and Garrett. Let me know, Taylor, feel free to put something else. Oh, good, you just let me know, it helps. Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a gold star question for sure. Let me know if you all have any other questions. I can for sure come back into the mobile app easily. So let me know. But what I'm going to do for a moment here is share with you, I want you to actually see what that email looks like. I'm super visual, so I think it's worth showing here. All right, here's my project. And then here is just a quick example of an email I pulled. So earlier I mentioned Clarissa had those 3 items. This is what her email that she got would actually look like. The subject line is going to be 3 punch items in your court. The from is going to be from whoever created the item. And apologies, that's a little confusing because Clarissa created this, is the assignee, and is also the punch manager. But I think you get the idea of how that will work. I think that is what I had for you as far as formal agenda. So let me know, either panelists, if there's anything now that I've gone through an overview, if there's anything we want to talk about in more depth, happy to do that. If there are any questions about configurations in the web, happy to talk about that as well.
It doesn't look like anybody's got any more questions. So we will put all of this information in our standard operating procedures when we post those online. Hopefully the video and your standard operating procedures, we should have those up by tomorrow afternoon. I don't think I have anything else. Claire, do you?
I don't believe so. I am going to type out what I said to Taylor real quick so that you guys have, it's kind of cool, but the recording will save a copy of the response.
Okay.
But otherwise, no, that's the basic. The takeaways for your team, for everyone to remember, are really, one, create your items always from a drawing sheet unless you've got a special circumstance. Two, wait to send your items out until you've created everything you're going to create and send them out from the punch tool. And then I have sort of a third takeaway reminder for champions, admins. I really suggest, if you've not already, make your trade, type, and location all required fields on the punch list, so folks aren't trying to remember. It's just required and they know they got to fill that out.
Sounds great. Okay, you guys, so as another reminder, this is going to be the last Procore directed training for a little while. I know we still have reports and the documents tool to touch on and a couple of other things, but Kendrick's going to take training back over, and Miranda's going to also send out that survey. So any feedback you have whatsoever would be greatly appreciated. I wish we could have been to everybody's office and job sites doing this big rollout, and it'd have been a little more exciting, but hopefully you've gotten something from some of these trainings. Claire did a great job today, so thank you very much for that. If
Yes,
you guys
of
have
course.
if you think of any questions after this, always please feel free to send them to myself and or Miranda, and we'll make sure Claire gets them for you. Other than that, you guys have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks again for your time, everyone. Have a great one.